Welcome to another episode of Down the Barrel Podcast with Jimmy and Dino.
And sometimes Jared.
Down the Barrel Podcast is brought to you by the Minnesota Deer Hunters Association
and wolf.report. Wolf.report, a platform dedicated to elevating the voices of Minnesota hunters, trappers, and outdoor enthusiasts. Join us in advocating for responsible wolf management in Minnesota. Share your reports, photos, and stories, and together we will ensure that they are seen by all.
The Minnesota Deer Hunters Association, protecting the future of deer and deer hunting through habitat, education, advocacy, and legislation. Today we're talking with Kyle Arola. He is a DNR wildlife manager and a YouTuber for Wilderness Enthusiast. How's it going, Kyle?
Thanks for joining us.
Thank you. How you guys doing?
We're doing pretty good, even though it is extremely cold down here today.
Well, this room that we're in, though, is extremely warm.
Yes, it is.
I mean, it's extremely cold outside.
Yeah.
And we have been having some technical difficulties with Kyle.
Yep.
But we have him on phone now, so the audio is not perfect. We apologize, but we're doing our best.
Yeah. We'll make a go of it. All right. So tell us a little bit about yourself, Kyle.
Yeah, well, I'm originally from Virginia, Minnesota, so right up the road from you guys, and grew up spending a lot of time in the outdoors, doing a lot of upland hunting, primarily rough grouse, a lot of deer hunting with the family, and a ton of fishing, and all of those early on experiences pointed me to the direction where I am today, as you said, a wildlife manager with the Minnesota DNR. So I wrapped up high school at Virginia and attended Mesabi Community College for 2 years, got my associate's degree, and then from there went on to St. Cloud State University and got my bachelor's in ecology and wildlife biology. And at that time, jobs were pretty tough to come by, whether it was with state or federal or private organizations. And to kind of give an individual an edge, going that additional 2 years and pursuing a master's degree was recommended by my advisors. So came up with a graduate idea to continue on with the 2 years at St. Cloud State, and got my master's degree and was working down at Three Rivers Park District as a seasonal wildlife aide. And then they posted a number of assistant manager positions with the Minnesota DNR, applied for that, put my name in the hat, and ended up here at Thief Lake Wildlife Management Area. And that was 11 years ago. And here I am today.
Gotcha.
Great. So for people that don't know, where is Thief Lake?
Thief Lake is up in the northwest corner of the state. I am about exactly 1 hour from the Canadian border and 1 hour from the North Dakota border.
Okay.
I didn't know it was that close.
Not that between Thief River Falls and Roseau.
Okay. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and that's a pretty big area, that Thief Lake. How many acres is that?
So out of the Thief Lake office, we manage 115,000 acres of wildlife management area.
Oh, wow.
Right.
Jeez, that seems like a lot.
It's a lot of acres, and we're located right on the transition zone between what they call the Tallgrass Aspen Parkland to the west and northwest. West of that would be the Prairie Province. And then just to the east of me is the Agassiz Lowland Province. So we see a variety of different habitat types, from extensive black spruce bogs to prairies, oak savannas, and then kind of a gem at the center of it all is Thief Lake, which is just over 7,000 acres. A shallow lake. The max depth is about 4.5 feet, and it's a waterfowl paradise.
Yeah,
okay. That's what I was going to ask. So, what kind of wildlife are mainly in? I mean, you guys probably have a little bit of everything up in there, don't you?
Definitely.
Yep.
So, as far as game species go in Minnesota, we have pretty much everything except for prairie chickens and pheasants. So prairie chickens are about an hour and a half to the south of us, but we have there's moose that pop up periodically. We had actually more moose reports this past fall than we had in a number of years, which is encouraging. And we also have the Grigwa elk herd that we manage right out of this office. So they, at any given time, they're within 10, 20 miles of the headquarters here. And then there's certainly more to the northwest of us up in Kitson County. And then we have an abundance of deer. We have really good deer habitat up here. It's that mix of woods and agriculture. And then we also have really good wintering habitat. So you'll see the deer travel 5, 7, 8 miles about this time of year to their traditional wintering areas where they have access to really good browse, whether it be willow or hazel, and they really yard up in those areas and typically pull through the winters pretty well.
Good
deal.
And you've worked with Minnesota Deer Hunters Association quite a bit on that Thief Lake area as well, right?
Yeah. So when I started, like I said, about 10, 11 years ago, that's when we, just shortly after that, we started working with the Minnesota Deer Hunters Association on conservation partner legacy grants.
Yep.
And if the listeners aren't familiar with that, that falls under the Clean Water, Land, and Legacy Amendment that Minnesota voters voted on in 2008. And essentially what that does is raises sales tax by 0.3%, and a portion of that money comes back into this Conservation Partner Legacy Grant Program. And organizations like the Minnesota Deer Hunters Association can apply for grants, providing a match, whether it's a dollar amount or an in-kind match with volunteer hours, whatever is worked out. Mm-hmm. And we've done well over $1 million of habitat work here. And the main projects that we have carried out is invasive species. So we are fortunate here where there's not a, sorry, my dog keeps licking.
Fine.
So we're fortunate in that we don't have a lot of buckthorn established within the area. And we've been aggressive in targeting areas where it's popped up. So we'll work with the Deer Hunters Association to hire contractors to go out and treat that, primarily in the fall time. Mm-hmm. So if folks are familiar with buckthorn, it holds its leaves on longer than our native species. So if you go out in late October, early November, it stands out like a sore thumb. And we've been pretty effective with that. And then other projects that we've done involve hiring seasonal workers, and we train them in on prescribed burning. That's one of our most effective management tools that we have. Pete, go. Go. First the echoing and then Pete.
Oh, that's all right. I'd rather have Pete.
Yep.
Yeah. I'll show you him here.
Oh, I know. Yeah,
Hey,
I watched some videos, and I've got a black lab, and I love it. So, yeah, I know exactly what you're going through.
Right.
Yeah.
For sure.
But anyway, some of those grants have been used to hire seasonal staff up here, and that was coordinated with the Stephen Conservation Association, and we'll train them in on how to conduct prescribed burning, to participate on burns, do a lot of invasive species management, again, whether it's buckthorn, honeysuckle, spotted knapweed, you name it, just things that are ultimately going to negatively impact the habitat and ultimately the wildlife that we have within the area. And then, yep.
So you're saying honeysuckle is an invasive species?
There's a native species of honeysuckle, and there are non-native species.
Okay.
Yes. Right. So we're targeting the non-native species of honeysuckle. And then, and most recently, what we've been doing is partnering with the Rocky Mountain Elk Foundation and the Minnesota Deer Hunters Association, and doing a lot of woody browse regeneration for elk and deer within their core wintering areas. And the responses have been really good from the wildlife. I have put out a number of trail cameras to kind of document the change in. So I put the cameras out before treatment, and then there's actually some pictures I have of the machines coming through, cutting the brush, which is pretty cool, flying snow and twigs all over the place. And then seeing the wildlife response and then the vegetation response as well. And I mean, my goodness, you name it, as far as wildlife goes, I have it on those cameras, from rough grouse, sharp-tailed grouse, moose, tons of deer. You can really see the benefits of doing that. And then when you go into those areas, 2-3 years afterwards, and you can see all the elk sign and the browse, it's rewarding.
Yeah, for sure.
No doubt. So up in Kitson County, MDHA has done a lot. You guys have done a lot. And I know we've got a couple chapters up there, Thief River and Roseau, in that area. And they have some of the highest hides turned in. So, I mean, the deer population have got to be pretty decent up in that area, I would think. Yep.
And again, it's just that right mix of agricultural open landscapes and winter cover, winter browse availability. And I guess our permit area that I'm in, we had a 2 deer limit this past season. And just to the west of me, it was a 3 deer limit. So there's definitely an abundance of deer in the area up here.
That's good to hear.
Yeah, that is good. That is good. So speaking of that, did you fare very well this season? I know you got one with you got an archery buck, it looked like.
Yeah. So I harvested a really nice 7-pointer the Tuesday morning before the rifle opener archery hunting. And what a lot of us DNR staff do, the opening, we're typically commuting the Friday before, and then working CWD stations throughout the state. So that ties up opening weekend, and I don't think I've had an opening rifle hunt for quite a few years. Yeah. One of these years I will. It's going to be my dream canoeing boundary water rifle hunt. So I'm waiting for a few mild winters to pursue that. So it might be a little bit yet, but I lucked out, got a really nice 7-pointer that Tuesday morning before the rifle opener. And then I passed on a number of does early on in the season. And then when I got back up here, did a little bit of rifle hunting and didn't have any luck. And then finally this past Sunday, I was sitting out in the snowstorm and I took a doe. So I just finished processing her last night. I saved some of the roasts, back straps, and then I ground up the majority of it and canned it. So
nice. I love me some canned venison.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's cool. So other than obviously, Wildlife Manager, we talked about that you're, on YouTube with your Wilderness Enthusiast with a bunch of YouTube videos. Now, I've watched probably not as many as I'd like to, because it seems like every time I start watching one, something happens. But that's pretty cool. So how long have you been doing that?
Well, I probably made my first video back in 2016, and it started out, I think I saw a deal online for a cheap version of a knockoff GoPro and picked that up and brought that on some of my early winter camping trips. And then from there, started videoing. My friends and I, we do annual boundary water trips every fishing opener, and videoing those and have some music playing in the background. And then started getting more and more into it. And, I kind of go through spurts where right now I'm in one of my spurt where I'm making a bunch of videos and putting them out there. And then I'll go through a dry period where, just not making as many, but, 2016. So it's been almost 10 years. And I find it's a really fun way to document trips that you go on. Every once in a while, throw on the TV and watch a video from a few years ago, and great way to capture memories and also to tell a story.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah, I know. I watched, I think the first video I watched, let me get the title of it here so that way I don't mess it up. I believe you and your dog Pete did the in October, the Wild Game Challenge, where you were at the Thief Lake wildlife area, correct? And you did a two-day hike through there.
Yep, that was actually on Red Lake Wildlife Management area.
Okay. Yep.
So just something different to do. It's kind of what I'm into, just picking out remote areas on the map and exploring. So for that particular adventure, I started up on kind of the northeast side of Red Lake Wildlife Management area and did a heck of a hike. I think it was about 18 miles total over 2 days. And I was in some wicked stuff. You're talking your black spruce swamps, expansive sedge meadows, where if you bounce a little bit, the whole ground just waves because the water's right there. Kind of spooky, thinking like, oh, what if I pop through this and what's going to happen? But I had Pete lead the way, so I know it's safe.
Poor Pete.
But yeah, that was fun. I had heard there was an old game warden cabin out there. So back in the earlier 1900s, that area served as a sanctuary. So there was no hunting or trapping allowed. And they would have these remote game warden cabins where they would go out and, look for poachers and just keep tabs on things. So I did find the one cabin. I think there's there's 3 cabins left out there. But check that out and then ended up I was going to stay in it, but there was a little bit too much mice activity going on in there. So I set up my tarp and found a nice spot and fried up a couple of the rough grouse that Pete and I got that day. So it was a fun trip, but yeah, it was super challenging. My most probably physical challenging trip that I've done yet, just hiking through some of those habitats. And mind you, it's not just the hike itself, but you're lugging around a shotgun and then all of your, sleeping gear, sleeping pad, cookware. That backpack probably weighed about 45 pounds.
Yeah, I would have died within the first 2 or 3 miles. And I was impressed with your video, with the videography, and I was really impressed with that. I thought you did a really good job, and it was pretty neat to watch. So,
thank you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I was watching your videos too, and I'm a big fan of the Boundary Waters ones because that's what I do. And you are really know what you're doing when it comes to finding those moose sheds, because I've been doing that for years and I found like one.
Sure.
And I've been all over the place up there since the 90s. So I suck at it, obviously.
Sounds like it.
Yeah, but
see, that's why I don't want to go with you, because you suck at it. See, I'd rather go with Kyle.
Well, if you want to go for sheds, definitely go with Kyle.
I don't know if I'd survive with Kyle though.
He may kill you.
He walks over the. I would die. I'd just die. Yeah, the drag me behind my own canoe. Yeah,
you'll get away with that for sure. And you also have to remember when I'm out there doing that stuff. I am out hiking 9, 10, 11 hours a day, so it's nonstop.
Right.
Yeah. I don't know if I could do that, but we've tried to do self-filming hunts and stuff. We used to a little bit more, I'd like to get back into it. We've got, kind of the setup with Tacticam, point of view cameras and whatnot. And I've got a camera arm. I think it's an old, it's not old. It's better than been used, but it's an old muddy camera arm that is excellent. But it's just a matter of, I always forgot to turn it on, or especially with the Tacticam at that time, that was their first gen. So it was a little bit more difficult. But even the little video camera beside me, it seems like I turn it on and it's like, nothing's happening. So I shut it off, and then all of a sudden, then a deer would come out. It's like, okay, my camera's off. So that was always tough when I was trying to film hunts, but I would like to get back into it. And watching your videos even kind of inspired me to even do more stuff, that I wouldn't even think of doing.
Yeah, it made me miss the Boundary Waters, tell you what.
Yeah.
And I've always wanted to do one of those winter trips in the Boundary Waters, but all my friends are wusses, so.
I die. And you've got a winter camping trip coming up, right? That you're hoping to do?
Yeah, so I was actually hoping to be driving to Ely right now to stay in a motel there tonight. And then my buddy Jeremy and I were planning on heading in tomorrow morning and then popping out on Sunday or Monday. But you just got that snowstorm up there. And I think the lake that we were going to enter on had 4 inches of ice before the snow. And then they got, I think, 6 to 8 inches of snow. And it sounds like the lakes are just a slushy mess right now. So we're going to push that trip back. And we are planning on entering Christmas Day.
Oh, wow.
So, we'll stay in Ely on December 24th and then enter on the 25th. He's going to come out that Sunday. And I am going to stay until either I spear a trophy northern pike that I plan on doing a really cool mount with, or B, I'll come out on New Year's Day. So I'm doing the kind of the Christmas New Year's thing family this weekend. So I kind of check that off the list, and then I can run free. And then also with work, we're going to start doing our elk surveys, our aerial elk surveys, January 2nd. And it takes about 5 days to do all of the surveying between the Grigla herd, the Kitson County herds. And then also we're going to be flying the Manitoba side as well this winter. Wow. So my schedule is very unpredictable once we hit the new year. And then another cool project that we have coming up with work is we're going to be collaring up to 40 elk this winter. Really? So, the DNR is working with, we contract with a helicopter crew. They're the ones that actually go out and do the capture of the elk. And then we'll have our DNR staff go out and take all their measurements, put collars on, check for pregnancy, all that sort of thing. So it's kind of a fun, exciting winter with elk activity.
Yeah, it sounds like that'd be a blast.
Yeah, yeah. So I have to sneak in my winter camping spearing trip when I can here.
So you just pulling a toboggan when you go in, or what do you have behind you?
I got. I can show you guys. The viewers aren't going to see it, but what I have is a sled that's enclosed with canvas.
Okay. Oh, okay.
Oh, yeah.
So is that something you made yourself, or is that something you bought?
Actually, when I was going to college, I was a couple of courses shy of qualifying for working the DNR fisheries.
Yeah.
I went up to Central Lakes College to take fisheries management and ichthyology, and I got to know one of the professors there pretty well, and he was retiring, and he used to do a ton of winter camping, and he saw that I was really into it, so he actually gave me that sled, and
nice.
It's been on all my trips since.
That's awesome.
But yeah, it's nice. I can fit all my gear in there, and it's obviously winter camping, it's a lot of stuff that you have to haul in there, and
Right.
it works out pretty well. I just wax the bottom of it, and hopefully we have good conditions and get some good cold weather to firm up the lakes and don't have to battle slush. If it's slushy, I don't think we're going to be able to do it.
Yeah, well, hopefully we get a better year than last. So when you go up to the BW during the winter, do you pretty much stay on the lake when you're hiking in, or do you bushwhack a little bit?
It's all lake and portage trails.
Okay.
Yep.
So are you allowed to go cross country then? I mean, non-motorized, I believe you are, right? So, I mean, if you wanted to cut across and go to another lake without a portage trail, could you do that legally?
Yeah, you can go anywhere you want.
Okay.
Yep. Yeah, so outside of the permit season for the Boundary Waters, I think that's May 1st through
October
September
1st. Yeah.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So starting October 1st, all winter, you just, fill out the self-issue permit at the entry point, and the sky's the limit.
Yeah. Really? Yeah, I usually go up there in October. Well, last couple of years I haven't. I go up there on opener every year, but October and May are my favorite times to go up there.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I've never been. One of these years.
You keep saying that.
I know.
I'm going again this spring if you want to go. We can do some shed hunting.
Yeah, I'd definitely go shed hunting for sure.
Well, you have to paddle to get in there, though.
Well, you'll paddle.
Well, I'll definitely paddle, but appreciate it if you'd help.
Yeah, I might help a little bit. I'll do what I can.
All right. I'll hold you to it.
Right. No, that's pretty cool. And then I know you had shared a picture with us a while ago about your 2024 shed hunting, and it had a bunch of moose and elk and looked like some deer. A huge photo. I don't even know how many. I was going to try to count. There is quite a few really nice sheds.
That's all from 2024?
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. Wow. Yeah, I suck.
Right? I mean, they've got some huge, amazing moose. Some
oh, wow. Look at that thing.
Great elk. Wow.
What a beast.
Oh, man.
Is that a matching set?
Yep.
That is so cool. Man, I want to find something like that.
I know I have to now this spring. I have to at least go find one.
Yeah.
The one I found was chewed up by porcupines that had been there for like 5 years or so.
Yeah. Found plenty of those.
I mean, that's pretty amazing for Minnesota moose, you know.
Yep, that set there that I found is a very respectable bull. There's definitely bigger ones out there, but that's a good one. And I guess for that one, I found the left side, the right side, and dropped a pin, dropped my pack, and then just started gritting it out. And I was, made a big loop, and I was about to head back towards where I found that antler. And I saw a rub on a tree on the corner of a big swamp. And I thought, oh, okay, I'll go check that out. And there was nothing there, and walked in a little bit further, and I could see another old rub from 2, 3, 4 years ago. And I walked over towards that. And just as I came around the corner, there lay the other side. And I knew right away that it was, and I thought, oh, awesome.
That is awesome.
And that's what keeps me going. It's a rush. It's an absolute rush finding those.
Yeah, that is cool. Yeah, it looks like a lot of nice elk and a lot of nice whitetail, I would assume, there too.
Yes. Yep.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, and I spend a ton of time, obviously, to find that many antlers. Shed hunting in the spring. Basically, the days are getting longer, and I got my 2 black labs and get done with work, and still got 3.5 hours of daylight left. So we'll just go out hiking and shed hunting, and also I'm looking for areas for deer sign from the year before, dropping waypoints like, oh yeah, this would be a a really good spot in late October with a southwest wind. So I'm making all those notes on my Onyx when I'm out there. So
Yeah.
I spend a ton of time in the woods. So, and it pays off when you do your homework and research. And I've been fortunate, like that 7-pointer I took this year, and I've been taking some decent bucks the last 6 years. So
Nice.
So do your dogs find most of the sheds, or are you lucky enough to get it before they do?
yeah, they're more along just to explore, be along for the hike. Pete has picked up one deer antler and brought it to me. He has sniffed out a couple moose antlers, but I had already seen them. I'll stop, and then when the wind is right, sometimes he'll go over and check it out. But I think the next dog that I get, I'm going to diligently work hard to train them to shed hunt, to sniff them. So, I mean, because it would, if you think I find a lot of antlers now, I think that would take me to the next level.
Yeah.
Right. So most of these moose antlers, do you find them around your area, or do you find them in the Boundary Waters area?
I find them around here, and then just northeast Minnesota in general. I'll make 1 or 2 trips every spring, and I'll bounce around. I'm in national forest areas.
Okay.
I mean, a lot of it's public land, obviously, up that way. But I do a lot of scouting online, looking at Google Earth, and kind of picking things apart. And okay, this looks like a good area, and I'll try to hit 2 or 3 different areas when I make a trip up there. And, sometimes I completely strike out. And what I think is going to be really good winter habitat for moose is, past its prime, and they're just not in there anymore. But sometimes I come out with a couple backpack loads. So
No doubt.
you never know.
So what makes good winter moose habitat, in your opinion?
From my experience, the best wintering habitat is going to have plenty of browse for them, and they love hazel, aspen a bit, paper birch, and also what you're looking for is that conifer component for thermal cover.
Right.
So if you find an area where they have food and cover, chances are there's going to be moose in there. And that kind of goes for, whitetail as well. And not so much the elk. And we simply, again, like I said earlier, we're on that transition zone. That tall grass aspen parkland is more characterized by more disturbance, in the past, more frequent fires. It keeps things more open, extensive sedge meadows, open brushlands, aspen islands, and the elk are just out there browsing on willow, pawing around, getting at grasses when they can. So they're not utilizing the classic thermal cover that you would think of with balsam fir and other conifers.
Yeah. Oh, that's pretty cool.
So in your area, you can obviously probably go and find elk shed, right? I mean,
Yep.
That's just crazy. I've been trying to go up there elk hunting since I was probably a teenager and just never got the chance. Have you ever gotten a chance to hunt up there for an elk? To take one?
I have not applied. No, I have not applied. Honestly, when I get out kicking around, I really enjoy finding their sheds. And I've gone out west elk hunting 2 times now. And it's something that I have not applied for up here for elk hunting.
But you've elk hunted in other locales?
Yeah, I rifle hunted back in 2014 in Montana by West Yellowstone, and this past September, my buddy and I went out to Washington State archery hunting.
Yeah, how was that?
It was an adventure. 28 hours driving one way. So it was a heck of a road trip out there. We're both cheap, so we're sleeping in the truck at rest areas and that sort of thing. But it was an adventure. And did I lose you guys for a second?
Nope, we're good.
I think the internet just got slow.
So how that came to be, we hunted up in the Olympic Peninsula, right by the coast, and kind of a random spot for a couple of Minnesotans to choose. But actually came about that trip through my YouTube channel. Last fall, my buddy Steven and I did a boundary water trip where we made a big loop, and we were catching walleye and shooting rough grouse and having a good time. And a guy out in Washington saw that video and posted a comment on that video and said, he was in the military and he was stationed at Fort Snelling, several decades ago. Mm-hmm. And he said, yeah, when I was in Minnesota, I always wanted to make it to the boundary waters, but never had the opportunity to. And I responded and said, well, if you ever want to make the trip, I'm more than happy to point you in the right direction for an easier trip, enter at Lake One out of Ely or something like that. And he's like, well, I don't know if that's in the cards, but I really appreciate the offer. And if you ever want to hunt Roosevelt elk, I can help point you in the right direction. And my buddy Derek, he's an adventurer, and I reached out to him and I said, because it's an over-the-counter tag, you don't have to apply. Okay. And I said, would you be interested in doing something like that? And he said, heck yeah, let's do it. And we did it. So we met with Will out there in Port Angeles, Washington, and poured over the maps on our way out there. And we hiked in the first day, the day before the opener, about 1.5 miles, and set up our little spike camp and hiked around. And, to be honest, we really didn't know truly what we were doing. And it's some wicked, rugged terrain out there. You are climbing mountains, and but we were having a good time with it. And on day 2, we were walking down. So they have all these decommissioned logging roads out there from the earlier part of the century. And I think they did logging up until the 60s, 70s where we were, but they're pretty darn overgrown, but you can still follow the trails. And we were walking along. We had just crossed a stream and got some water, and we walked a little further, and I let out a bugle, and Derek was right up in front of me looking down, and he said, God, wow, there's an elk. And I didn't see it because he was up in front of me, and that elk just headed straight west. We were facing south, and it headed basically perpendicular away from us. Didn't have any interest. And the next morning, we ran into a local in the parking lot, and apparently out there the elk are kind of shy and they don't bugle a lot. So I think if we were to go back there, we'd have to do a lot more homework. But we never heard a bugle, never had a response. So it was a tough hunt, but it was an adventure. We went out to the Pacific Coast one day, and just had a day where we messed around and got to be tourists. So it was a good time.
Yeah,
sounds like it. That'd be a hoot.
That would be, even though it was, unsuccessful for harvesting an elk, but obviously it sounds very successful for, your adventure, learning, the terrain, the area, the animals and everything else. So that's pretty cool.
Yep. And that's how I am. It's about the adventure, and, harvesting an animal is just, icing on the cake. And if it doesn't happen, it doesn't happen. But, we made a lot of good memories and had a lot of fun and had a challenging trip. So, more memories made. So it's all good.
No doubt.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was going to ask you too, and then back to winter camping mode here.
Yep.
What do you use for a stove to stay warm? I mean, I've seen it on a video, but I couldn't tell which one it was.
Yeah, so I have a little fire hiking titanium stove.
Okay.
I think it's the medium version, and my goodness, there's nothing to it. It completely folds up. The chimney pipe rolls up, and it all fits in basically like a computer bag, and it weighs probably 4.5 pounds.
Nice.
Yeah, it's nice, and I have a lightweight tent that I'll be bringing on this one, and also Jeremy he has the Cadillac of winter tents, a snow trekker canvas tent that's lightweight, and we'll be staying in that for the first portion of our trip, and then like I said, he'll take off on Sunday, and then if I don't have a pike by Sunday, then I'll set up my tent for the remainder, the final 3 nights.
Yeah, it sounds like an adventure.
Yeah, no doubt.
What's the coldest you've ever slept in out there?
22 below.
Jeez. I don't even like driving my truck in 22 below.
So that wasn't. So I started winter camping when I was 18 years ago, actually, and back then my buddies and I would just bring out a summer tent and set that up, clear some snow, and I did have a 60 below sleeping bag at that time. But that one night it got down to the 22 below, and we didn't have a stove or anything like that. Cold tenting, and I don't think I slept for more than maybe an hour or two that night. It was not enjoyable. So now getting a little bit older, and if I see in the forecast that it's going to be dipping down to 10, 15 below, we can reschedule that trip for more pleasant.
Yeah.
That's good advice.
Yeah, I've never done any winter camping or cold camping. I have definitely did summer hot sweaty camping, and didn't need a stove, but sure wish we had an air conditioner or fan. I sure do love my fifth wheel better than the tent a few times when we were up in Namakan.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
No. Yeah, I've spent some cold nights in the Boundary Waters in May before. Back in, I'm old, so back in the 90s when it used to get a lot colder in May. There was a few nights when, back in those days, I didn't have fancy equipment. And there was some cold nights where it got down to single digits. And there was a few times I thought I was going to die.
Well, there was a few years ago that you had snow. You woke up. I remember I was still doing photography at that time.
That was a miserable year.
Yeah. God, that was 2014.
Something like that. Yeah, I was up 14, there, and I was basically locked down in my tent because it was snowed and rained and windy for like 3 days straight. That was a miserable trip.
Yeah,
but
that was a rough.
Still
opener.
An adventure.
I remember that. I think on that opener, I was in a fifth wheel camper. I was like, yeah, I'm not going out on the boat. It's cold and windy, and I remember thinking, Jimmy's up in the Boundary Waters in a tent, and I'm freezing. Yeah, I'm freezing in my fifth wheel.
Right.
I guess.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, it's a good memory.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Yeah. So, Kyle, obviously you do some deer hunting. Are you mainly a archery hunter, or do you do some rifle hunting too? I think you said you might have.
Yeah. So I'll, a lot of archery hunting. And then if I, don't harvest deer before the rifle opener, then I will rifle hunt. And then I don't have a muzzle loader, but I am, waiting on that year where I don't have, deer harvested by that time, and I'll, purchase one and give muzzle loader hunting a try. But this year I obviously took my doe this past Sunday, but I stuck with the bow because they were concentrating on an area where there's a food plot and there's pretty good activity there. So I stuck with the bow for the late season and took it in the snowstorm.
Yeah, it's always fun. I love taking it when it's snowing. It's my favorite time.
And especially with your bow, that even makes it that much more memorable. I mean, you shot them in a snowstorm in muzzleloader.
Muzzleloader, yeah.
And I was still bow hunting at that time, but it was just beyond my reach where they were coming out. So they ended up going by you, and you could reach out and touch them where they were too far out for me. So
yeah, it always just feels right to be out hunting when it's that light snow.
Yep.
Little cold temps.
Yeah.
I really enjoy it. Yeah, and I put on the list here too, woodland caribou trip. That's something I've always wanted to do. Probably never will now. But you did it, it looks like.
Yeah, yep. Yeah, I did woodland caribou back in, I think that was 2018 or 2019. And at that time, what Ontario Provincial Parks had going was a wilderness quest. So if you, within 1 year, if you visited Quetico, woodland caribou, in Wabakimi, you got entered into a drawing for a canoe.
Oh, wow.
So that May, I went to Quetico, went in at Beaver House Lake, and just did like a 4-day trip into there, knocked that out, and then was looking at planning the woodland caribou trip in June. So I did I think it ended up being a 9-day trip. I made a large loop up there, and I guess kind of a funny, not so funny story for me. For whatever reason that year, I decided to sign up for a marathon. So I did Grandma's Marathon on Saturday, and then I went in Duluth, and then I went and stayed at my mom's house Saturday night, and then was up at like 3:30 in the morning to head up to Woodland Caribou. I think that was like a 7-hour drive from Virginia. And I remember after the marathon, walking back to, they had a shuttle system with buses that would bring you back up to the Miller Hill Mall where we parked our vehicles. And I had to walk down like 10 stairs, and my legs were just, it was painful. And so still sore on Sunday, driving up to Woodland Caribou. And my goal that first day was to enter and then take 3 portages into the first lake. So got up there, and those first 3 portages were pretty rough. Thankfully, they're short portages up there, but it was it was a rough go that first day, but felt better after that. And that was an awesome trip. It was me and Isla, my older black lab. Pete wasn't around at the time, and we had a lot of fun. Seemed like every lake was a little bit different. Some lakes were absolutely phenomenal for walleye, and it didn't matter if you were out there at 5:30 in the morning or 1 p.m. or at dark. It was just fish after fish.
Really?
All right. I want 2 15.5 inchers for lunch today, and here we go. And then some lakes just loaded with northern pike. I mean, and some nice lake trout lakes. I was hoping to catch a big pike, but that never did happen on that trip. But it was very memorable. And that year I did that was the year after there were some pretty expansive wildfires.
Okay.
So the summer before, thousands and thousands of acres burned along the route that I went in on. And it kind of felt like you were on a different planet at points, because like it's a lot of it up there is jack pine, black spruce communities, and they are fire dependent. So I think they have what they call a stand replacing fire every 50 to 70 years where fires come through, they regenerate. 50 years later, a fire comes through, and that's just a cycle. But the intensity of the fire, I mean, it cleaned everything up, and it was just, patches of soil, and then you just see all the bedrock. And it was pretty neat. It was quite the experience, and I haven't been back since. I'm hoping to do a Wabakimi trip maybe next year or the year after. For sure, within 2 years from now, I'll have a Wabakimi trip under my belt.
Yeah, I'm not familiar with that park. Whereabouts is that one compared to Woodland?
So it would be basically east-northeast of Woodland Caribou, like northwest of Lake Nipigon.
Okay. All right. Where'd you go in at on Woodland? There's only a few places you can go in, isn't there?
Yep. I went in at Liano Lake.
Okay. Yep. That's the south side, right?
Yeah, it'd be kind of the southeast side.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, I think I've heard of that one. I've heard that there's a rough road to get in on.
Yeah, it's I mean, with your typical half-ton pickup, it's not a big deal.
Okay.
I suppose if there had been a big, rain event or something, it'd be more challenging, but you just got to drive slow, not much worse than, a little 2-track up the Gunflint Trail or something.
All right. What time of year did you go in up there?
I went in mid-June.
Okay. So the bugs
and
were
I probably
too bad.
I would not do that again. The bugs were bad.
Yeah.
I would probably, if I were to go again, it would be probably around, fishing opener in May or September, October.
Right. Yeah. I mean, because I know I used to take trips in the Boundary Waters in June, and I won't do that anymore.
Nope. I only go to the Boundary Waters in the winter, May, October.
Yep. Yeah, I learned my lesson. That is no fun wiping mosquitoes off yourself.
Exactly.
Awesome.
Wow, that is some. I'm just looking at a map because I kind of knew where it was, but I wasn't for sure. And that's some pretty crazy terrain. Whoops, I hit a button.
Well, I used to hear that it was like the Boundary Waters, but like 30 years ago. That's kind of what people used to explain it to me as.
Oh, okay.
I would say the Boundary Waters, but 60 years ago.
Really? That good, huh?
Yeah, the fishing, and then I was out there for, I'm pretty sure it was 9 days, and on day number 3, I saw a canoe with 2 people in it, and that was it.
Nice.
Yeah.
Although I will say the last few years I've been going to an area in the Boundary Waters, and I have yet to see another soul on that lake. I kind of found a nice little private little lake, and I've been going there, and it's just awesome. Whole lake to yourself every time. Fishing's good. Haven't found a lot of moose antlers yet, but I have found one. Yeah, that sounds desirable.
Yeah, that seems pretty cool. Mm-hmm. That seems like a really awesome area. Of course, so is Boundary Waters, but I mean that's really neat.
Yeah, but to be able to go out and get all those fish like you used to be able to in the Boundary Waters would be amazing.
Yep.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Yeah, I think, Ontario is just, kind of the next level. It takes a little bit more preparation, crossing the border, planning your route, your trip. And I mean, there's a lot to explore just in Ontario alone. And then, you can bounce over to Manitoba, Saskatchewan, and there's a world of adventure just north of us.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
And a lot less people. Yeah. So did you have any troubles getting across the border with all your gear? Or did they have to go through everything?
Never. I've never had any issues crossing the border, but watch now.
Yeah, you better knock on wood.
Way to go. You jinxed him on that one.
Yeah, I've been up there a few times where they made me sit on the curb and go through the whole car for no reason, but...
Yeah, no, I've never had that happen. I brought my mom up there a few winters ago to go stay up on Lake of the Woods and lake trout fish, and they had us pull over, and they obviously did a background check on us, and but didn't do any kind of thorough search or anything like that. That's the extent. Normally it's, where are you from? Where are you going? Where are you staying? When's the last time you were in Canada? Have a good day.
See you later. Yeah, because I was watching one of your videos. There's a place you were up trout. I think, lake trout fishing. You took snowmobiles out and stuff up there someplace. That looked like a fun trip.
Yeah.
30 miles, you said, on the snowmobile? That sounds like an adventure in itself.
Yeah.
Yes. That, and then we stayed at the cabin that time. It was about 30 miles in, and we had really good fishing. Actually, the viewers, I'll grab my phone this time. The viewers aren't going to be able to, or the listeners aren't going to see it, but I caught this lake trout on that trip.
Nice.
Oh, wow.
Did you find that moose antler too?
No, that was a boundary water one.
Still, sweet.
But,
So what did that guy weigh?
That one was 33 and a half inches, and I did not weigh it. It's probably 14 pounds or something.
Nice.
But I had a voucher at a taxidermist that I had for a couple years, and I wanted to just get that used, and I caught that trout, and I thought, this is a perfect representative lake trout.
Right.
Not a giant, but it's a really nice fish, and he did a phenomenal job on the mount.
Yeah, I like that. Mounted on the moose antler.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
That's classic for sure. Yeah, but you've had some good adventures, and sounds like you got some more planned.
Yeah.
I am definitely jealous. But Woodland, you got the winter trip planned. Hopefully that works out. Yep. If Minnesota winter kind of gets itself in line here. Doesn't know what it wants to do. It's freezing today, but then it's supposed to warm up this weekend.
Yeah. Just as we're getting good ice, then we get that little bit more snow, and then the warm temps, and then a little bit more snow. And it doesn't know what it wants to do. Typical.
Yeah, what do you do? Well, I think we can probably wrap it up now.
Yeah, I think so. I've been, like I said, watching a few of your videos. I know there's a few more I need to watch. Yeah, I think it's cool. It's
our
awesome
listeners, if you're listening, go to YouTube and check out Wilderness Enthusiast channel.
Yes.
He's got some great videos. If you want to see somebody that can seemingly walk upon a moose antler every 20 steps, check it out. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, and it's pretty awesome. He's got his black labs with him, and he does a great job.
Yeah, learn about the boundary waters. And a bunch of other adventures. I mean, I'm going to go through and watch them all because I love that kind of stuff. It makes me, it kind of motivates me to do that, even though I'm probably 10 years older than Kyle. I need that motivation. And maybe I can talk some of my friends like Dino here and actually going outside.
I like to watch it because it gives him motivation, and I can just go, watch that. Yeah, that's cool.
Awesome. Well, we appreciate you joining us, Kyle. Just BS session. And I'm hoping to talk to you again because I want to hear about this winter trip if you go on it.
Yes.
All right. That sounds real good. It's going to be a heck of an adventure. I can guarantee you that.
Yeah. I want to see the pike you get off of it for sure. Awesome. Yep. All right, man. Well, good luck on your trip, and thanks for joining us. We'll let you get back to the whatever it is you got going on.
All right. Sounds good.
Right, thanks a lot, Kyle. Talk to you later, man.
The Minnesota Deer Hunters Association has been building our hunting and conservation legacy over the past 40 plus years through habitat, education, advocacy, and legislation in Minnesota for Minnesota.
The Minnesota Deer Hunters Association and Wolf Report proudly sponsor this podcast. However, please note that the opinions, topics, and guests featured may not necessarily align with the views, beliefs, goals, or missions of our sponsors.
The views expressed by Jimmy and Dino and podcast guests are solely their own and do not represent the Minnesota Deer Hunters Association and Wolf Report.